with a big stand like Stone Cold with a few beers. Play the game, I end the game, I'm champion, I'm Triple H. Undertaker, I'm your maker, bury the brother like Kane. Ooh, 1-3, hit the tombstone, hit the choke slam on face. Ooh, yeah, like a macho heel, turn like country muscle. If you suffer like tomatoes, I might keep a couple models. Ooh, and you may call me HBK. When I'm tuning up the vein, you best be getting in my way. Ooh, yeah, I'm degenerate, I love it, yes, I love it. If you wait down with that, then I got two as well, you suck it. Too sweet, put your fangs up. Too sweet, hold another cup. Let's be busy 23, got me feeling way too sweet. Ooh.
Welcome everyone to your longest running Australian wrestling podcast, Wrestle Radio Australia. I'm your host, Todd Eastman. I actually have a guest this week, so you won't have to hear me talk for half an hour. You're welcome, Australia. My guest this week is Kaz Jordan, EPW wrestler who started out in Perth, moved to Melbourne, is now back in Perth with EPW and doing some really good things. So I wanted to get him on and talk to that. Perth itself is doing really good things when it comes to professional wrestling. There's a lot of stuff going on with EPW with I think it's, I always get it wrong. I'm sorry what I'm doing here. It's Southern. I'm going to look it up quickly because I don't want to butcher it, and because I don't know why, but the name keeps futzing with me and that sort of deal. Southern Territory Wrestling. There we go. That's the one. Those guys are starting up this weekend. It looks like a really good card with a great mix of with Adelaide and also Perth workers. So it's a show that if you're in Perth, you should go and check out, because you've got I think it's Adam Brooks is on the card. Dean and Delta Brady are on the card. Dean is actually facing my guest this week, Kaz. So yeah, some really good talent from Adelaide coming over to work with some of the good talent in Perth. Julian Ward, I think, is Julian Ward and Chris. He's in a three-way. I know that. Julian Ward. I'm not too sure who the third person was off the top of my head, and I apologize to that person. But get around him if you're in the neighborhood and want to check out some good wrestling. Like I said, great mix of Adelaide's best and Perth's best. So that's only going to be good things for wrestling over there in Perth. Also, at the moment, EPW are doing the Royal Perth show, which is really, for me, it's really weird to say that there's an actual Royal show going on in Australia, especially this year with how crazy things have been all around the country with lockdowns and COVID restrictions and all of that sort of thing. Whereas Perth at the moment is doing good enough that they can have their Royal show. And it looks like every session of EPW's shows are absolutely packed, which is great, because it means more people in Perth, in WA, are getting to see Australian professional wrestling, and hopefully they'll end up going to those EPW shows and get addicted to them, like a lot of people in it that go to EPW shows do. So it can only be good things for Australian wrestling. As for my friends down in Melbourne and Sydney, again, stick through, guys, not too long, and hopefully you guys will be out of your restrictions and you'll be able to get back to doing what we all love to see you guys do, and that is to put on shows and be able to entertain the people of Melbourne, the people of Sydney. I know that Wrestle Rock, unfortunately, this week knocked on their head their shows for the rest of the year. So that is it's a shame, but it's unfortunately it's the times we live in. So hopefully they will be back in 2022, which is really weird to see, with some bigger and better shows, and we'll get to see Chris Fresh in that kilt, as he loves to do on those shows. Also, Lord Andy Coyne called it time in MCW as their lead commentator. A great run as the commentator for MCW. Wish him all the best. I know he's still sticking around with Deathmatch Down Under, his own promotion, so we'll still be able to hear him on those shows. But it will be that will be a big loss for MCW, one of the voices of MCW for the past few years now, calling time. But well, who knows who they'll bring in, and hope maybe that person will be the new voice of MCW. Who knows? I'm trying to look on the bright side of things, guys. It's 2021, and then we're still stuck in a 2020 mindset, unfortunately. I'm going to go to a quick views from the East. And then after that, we're going to get to our interview with Kaz Jordan. A great kid. I know I say it every time I interview someone. Great kid, huge future. Can't wait for you guys to hear this interview. We'll be right back with that after this on Wrestle Radio Australia.
And you will rise from the ashes of this world.
On Saturday, October 9th. The best in Queensland Pro Wrestling returns. As Pro Wrestling League presents Revolution 3. Check their Facebook for details. As you can probably tell from the title of this, if you're watching the small snippet that I put up, this Views from the East is a different one, and it's something that I sort of want to talk about because it deals with again the thing that we do talk about a lot here, mental health and that sort of thing. It deals with a little bit of that. It's a little bit of wrestling. It's sort of like it's the mix of the two, if you will. I had one of my wrestle kids message me the other day because he was upset that he wasn't booked on a particular show that was coming up. Now, I'm not going to say the wrestler, I'm not going to say the show because that's not anyone's business, but my wrestle kid and mine, and anyone else who wants that talks to me about it, I like to keep secrets when it comes to that sort of thing. I like to keep their confidence. I don't like to talk about this sort of thing a lot. But I thought it was important to talk about this. I'm not going to, like I said, I'm not going to name the guy, but it's important to talk about this subject. And it was funny that he did it because in the past week or so, I've been dealing with the same sort of thing myself. I don't have a wrestle dad that I can message about it. So it was sort of just something that had been rattling around in my head for the past week or so, to the point where there was there were times where I even thought about, well, maybe I should just retire and not worry about doing managing anymore, because if this is the place I want to work and they don't want to have me as a manager, then I don't know what I should do, if I should just keep going or what the deal is with that. Because and it's I'll admit straight away, it's the wrong way to go about things in our heads. It's the wrong way to deal with stuff. It is, again, I got caught up in my own anxieties, in my own self-confidence issues. As shocking as it may seem to you, probably listening at home or people that have seen me on shows, there are times where I have a real problem with my own self-confidence. I have a real problem with putting myself over. I don't like doing it. I don't like talking myself up, which is probably not very good for a standpoint of what the business I'm in. So the business I'm in is we're always talking ourselves up. We're always sort of doing that. And I'm fine. I can do that when I'm Todd Eastman, the manager. When I'm sort of Todd the person, I don't like doing it that much. And you'll notice too, if I ever talk about things, if I don't know if I've done it on this show, but I know for a fact that when I'm talking to people and like if we bring up about working somewhere, I'll always like, oh, well, if you need a fat manager, give me a call. Or I'll be talking about this show and I'll say something like, I'll make a joke saying, oh, if the three people that listen to this show would know, because it's just I don't like talking myself up, and the only way I can deal with this sort of thing is by being self-deprecating, to just give myself shit. And I guess that's a defense mechanism to stop other people from giving me shit. Like if I do it first, then I sort of beat them to the punch. And I guess that played in my head. That played in my head over things, because like truly I do believe I am one of the best managers in this country at the moment. I'm sure there are some really good managers going around. I truly believe in my heart I am one of the best managers in this country at the moment, because I work at it and because I love it and because I will do anything I can to help put over a company that I work for, the wrestler I work with, and the wrestler we work against. And that I believe when I'm out there, I'm able to help in that cause by turning a crowd and working with a crowd and working a crowd to get the desired reaction that we intend. Now, for my wrestle kid, I said to him, the things that I should have been saying to myself is that we can't control what happens to us. We can only control how we react to it. Now, I didn't react well at all in my head to it. I went into a bit of a depressive state. I was down on myself. I was down on my own abilities. I was down. And it's easy for me to tell other people that, oh, you shouldn't be down. Don't let it get to you, blah, 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 when it happened to myself. So I know how easy it is for you to fall into that. For people and for the guy that I talked to, what I did say is I said that. And I also said, look, if you really want to know why you didn't get booked or why you're not being booked, ask the promoter what it is you can do to maybe improve to get yourself into a position of being booked. But don't do it don't like accost the person, but just be nice about it. Just like, why, can you tell me why, what can I do to put myself in a position to be booked on one of your shows, because I really want to work on your show. Mine is a different case completely, where like it hurt more because it's a little bit more personal to me than what this other case was. So, and it's something I'm not going to go into any more than that. But it's one of those things, guys, where like in wrestling that you will face times where people do not want to use you, and that's okay. That is their prerogative. It is up to you to, whenever you're on a show, whatever show it is, go out there and do as good job as you can to make whoever was booking that other show regret that you aren't on their show now. And then maybe to the point where they'll see you and they go, I'm really sorry, we should use you. Would you like to come in? And that's all I can say to other people is don't go down a rabbit hole like I went down, because I was really upset for a few days. And yeah, it wasn't good. It's not a good headspace to be in, and especially in the world we're living in at the moment, it's hard to dig out of some things. But I'm hoping that now that I'm just doing this will make me feel a little bit better, and I plan on addressing it with like people that I talk to and all that sort of things. And yeah, but like I applaud this guy for reaching out to me, because like he reached out to someone for a sounding board, which is good. It's good to do. But yeah, it's important to remember, guys, like true success will never be attained. This is something I read the other day. True success will never be attained when you base it on the opinion of others. As long as you think you are doing, and you are doing everything you can to be as good as you can, as often as you can, then hopefully the right people will see it and you'll be rewarded by that. Now, I don't know how confusing and convoluted this was, but this is it. So, like I said, I move on, onwards and upwards, and any other show that I'm on where I'm managing someone, you can bet that you're going to get the best of me, and you're going to get me, but trying as hard as I can to make you hate me. And that is this Views from the East. It's my opinion. You're entitled to it. And we'll be back with Kaz Jordan right after this on Wrestle Radio Australia.
You can't make chicken salad out of chicken shit.
Importantly, that whole match, the back and forth was fantastic. Massive impact. I thought both guys were doing absolutely excellent work. We saw Danielson come back with the, I've got 5 and all of that. Great. I thought it was an absolutely ripping match, start to finish, regardless of the ending.
Yeah. Do you know what I would have loved though? Is that they were trading off and the bell goes and they just keep trading and keep trading and treat to the point where the locker room empties and that's what splits them up. So there's no real, like, nobody got the upper hand at all. Like, he didn't get that LaBelle lock in. He didn't, like, didn't hit the one winged angel. All of that deal, you were still not seeing it. So you still could have kept teasing it. Like, Omega could have said, you never got it on me. And Danielson was like, well, you never hit me with this. You know what I mean? That's something I might have, if it was me with the pencil, would have been like, I just want you guys to keep trying. Like, one of my favorite things to see trading off was, and this is very old, well, not very old school, but old school-ish, was Greg the Hammer Valentine and Ronnie Garvin had a feud in WWF. And when they traded off punches, it was amazing because everything looked crisp and it just looked like two guys that were that mad at each other. They were just throwing bones. And if I'd have seen that for the end, like if you're like a flurry of punches to each other and then ding, 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 and they're still going and the refs trying to break it up. And next thing you know, all the refs come out to try and split them up. And then like some of the click has to come out and break them up and all of that sort of stuff. And then it's like, you've got a real, like they can go to break while they're emptying out the ring.
Yep.
So when they come back, like, what a wild scene. Cannot wait to see a rematch. Unbelievable.
Definitely. But I think that the way they went, see, if they went that way, then you've got to go to rematch, right? Whereas
the
way
really,
that
because he can still say, you didn't beat me. Move on, like Omega can. And then Brian's got a real thing where like, well, you didn't beat me either, man. And then they've got that ongoing niggle.
I agree.
Kaz Jordan, thank you for joining me tonight, mate.
It's a pleasure, mate. Happy to be here.
It's just you guys in Perth are sort of living the dream at the moment. It's almost like it's a different world over there for you guys, walking around, no masks. You're not really worrying about much at the moment.
It is. It's we're pretty lucky, to be honest. Like compared to a lot of obviously states out there. Like I think yourself, Queensland's, they're getting there. Obviously, hopefully not in the future. There's no lockdown for this first case, but yeah, Perth. Then it's been I really can't complain at all. Hey, like we've had like maybe 2 lockdowns, but other than that, we're doing a lot better than other places, you could say, I guess. But just I'm really feeling for the people, over in Sydney and Melbourne. But it is what it is, man. Got to keep on going, Todd.
That's right. That's right, mate. Well, speaking of keeping on going, like you've got what? It's that new, is it Southern Wrestling that's starting up?
Yeah, WRA Wrestling coming up this Saturday, actually.
That's right.
So I'm facing Dean Brady. So yeah, let's see what Dean can bring to me, eh? Back in WA. See, big Adelaide boy. I haven't seen much of Dean, to be completely honest, but
I'll give you some tips. He's the first kid I ever managed, so I can give you some tips after.
Okay, yes, that's what we. He's a big boy, isn't he?
He's a big lad now, yeah. He really is.
Yeah, so that's a bit worrying.
But you'll be right, mate. But you've got, like, you guys are running. You got EPW going. It's all sort of full steam ahead over in Perth at the moment, isn't it?
It is. We're very lucky. Obviously, I got Mighty Encounters on October 16th. I'm in the Invitational Tournament first year in EPW Invitational Tournament. Got to claim that, Todd. So I'm facing Gavin McGavin, the real wrestler. Gavin McGavin.
You're not doing bad for opponents, are you?
Can't really complain. It's Davis Storm first time there, and now Gavin McGavin. It's just ticking off bucket list,
Yeah, well, that's the thing when it's coming to when you're looking at stuff like opponents you want in Perth. Those two are pretty much like the top 2 of the top 5 that you'd want to take on when anyone that's traveling even from the eastern states to go over there, like, well, I'd love to verse Davis. I'd love to verse Mikey. I'd love to verse Gavin. These like all these guys, and like to tick them both off fairly quickly. You're doing all right, aren't you?
Yeah. I like it. Yeah, well, yeah, it's just early days as well. Hopefully, I can tick them all off. There's obviously still a heap of opponents I want to face at EPW before I start. Well, I also do want to go into state, but it's a bit hard.
Yeah.
Bit hard to do because it's just because I was planning on coming to Sydney. I was actually going in June, and then this whole shindig happened. So next time hopefully.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I was talking to Brooksy the other night, and I was like, it's been, because I'm originally from Adelaide. That's where I started. I was like, it's been 2 years since I've been back to RCW. He's like, oh, why don't you come back? I was like, because I can't risk getting stuck and having to do 2 weeks quarantine coming home. It's just something that's not feasible at the moment for me.
Yeah, it's not, isn't it? Like, I had to do the hotel quarantine here in Perth, and don't wish on that upon anyone, to be honest. Like,
well, especially with like your guys, because like McGowan, the premier, doesn't mess around at all. So as soon as there's anything, you'd be like, right, quarantine, or the border's closed. That's it. So you really have to be, you really have to be careful. That's what we're dealing with at the moment up here in Brisbane. There's a small outbreak, and we're just, most of us are going, oh, we'll be in lockdown by the weekend. I think the only thing that's saving us at the moment is the fact we're supposed to have the NRL grand final. I think they're trying to hold off as long as possible to maybe get the game in before they lock everyone down.
Yeah,
but it's sort of one of those things.
Yeah, do you think they'll have people there, or is it 100% no go?
The rumors you keep hearing in the news and sort of stuff is that they're priming Townsville. Okay. So if the game gets blocked here, they'll send it up to Townsville. But I don't know how that would go with like I'm sure they'll sell the tickets, but just having like a day's notice to go, here, the grand final, fill out a 20,000 stadium. I don't know how. I mean, I'm sure they'd be able to do it, but geez.
Yeah. Yes.
It's a tough thing.
Tough time we live in at the moment. Hopefully 2022 is better, let's just say.
Well, that's what we said with 21.
Yeah, literally. Well, 2020 sucks. 2021 will be better. Next minute. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, you've even got like at the moment, you've got a lot of the EPW roster performing at the Royal Perth show, and from the photos I've seen, they're packing out every like session 100%. That they're doing. That's it's got to be something that you sort of wish you could have done, but obviously I know that you've got some like restrictions that you couldn't actually do it with other stuff, life stuff.
But
that's got to be something that just for experience alone is something you'd love to do.
100%. Having 4 matches a day would be insane. Like, obviously, at day I think 7 or 8, your body would be a bit painful, but it'd be all worth it for sure. So I'm a bit upset I couldn't actually do that, but like you said, life, you got to do life things, unfortunately.
That's
right.
So
hopefully next year they still continue. Hopefully, if there's no, hopefully the Royal Show will go ahead again next year as well. Let's hope for everything. You just don't know what's going to happen. It sucks. But
it's so weird to see like photos of like that Perth Royal Show and just see like chunks of people walking down somewhere like, wow, I remember when we used to be able to do that. Like even up here at the moment, if there's chunks of people, everyone's wearing a mask. Yeah. So it's sort of like it's
and keeping their 1.5 as well.
Yeah, well, you'd think they would, but
yeah.
So you started out in Melbourne, didn't you? Where did you start training?
So I originally started in 2015. So I started wrestling. I started actually at NHPW in Perth. I was there for a month and a half, and then I eventually moved my whole life over to Melbourne in 2016. So I started at Vicious Pursuit, training with Carly Cannon, and then I was there until end of last year.
Okay.
So obviously, I would say 2020 I didn't really do obviously I did training online, but
yeah. What do you do there? What do you do?
Yeah,
but even they say with like training with Carlo Cannon is basically you're basically getting like the Lance Storm Academy training in Australia, aren't you?
100%. So that's the reason I was actually supposed to go over to Canada to actually try to do Lance Storms, but I just stayed in Melbourne. I think I spent all my money, to be honest. So I had all like a massive amount, but I spent majority of my money. So obviously I stayed in Melbourne for 5 years. So I was just by myself pretty much. So, but Melbourne, I've got nothing bad to say until obviously the end of midway through 2020. But currently, other than that, it's a great place to live for sure. Cannot complain whatsoever.
So did you like, was it like a work thing that you moved to Melbourne, or was it that you wanted to learn wrestling, or what was the?
So I moved there because I wanted to change. So I was a bit over. What I was doing in Perth, I was a bit over doing the same thing day in, day out, and just doing pretty much similar things on the weekend. So I wanted a complete change. I wanted to move my whole entire life over to somewhere like I felt uncomfortable. I like being in, as weird as it sounds, I like being in uncomfortable positions. Is like life, if that makes sense. Yep. So I like to actually just what words I'm trying to go. Yeah,
you like to challenge yourself.
Yeah, that's the word. That's the word. I like to challenge myself and just do other things that I wouldn't do normally. So but I've always since I was like 8, 9 wanted to be a wrestler. My folks obviously not a fan of it at all. So yeah, still like oh, it's tough, but like I said, it is what it is. Like everyone can't be happy with your decision. It's just you just got to keep on going.
Yeah, but as long as you've got like a firm base under you of something else, like a trade or a degree of some description or something like that you can get like a job easily. It's not too bad. Like I know people always. I'm striking out here. Moving on.
Oh yeah, please. So yeah, this is like it's one of those things I just gotta give it a firm crack, and then I'm hoping. We'll see. Let's just say it's early days. Like I said, it's early days, but I don't see anything either. I don't want to do anything else other than this, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people say, like they're like I didn't like. Obviously, a lot of people do some things on the like they have a backup plan. I don't really have a backup plan, so so we'll just see how it all goes. That's all. That's what I really can say.
But you start in Melbourne. You worked for a fair few of the feds around there in Melbourne, so it was probably good that you landed at like a vicious pursuit where that they are fine with you working all different things and not sort of like, because when you would have started, that would have been when PCW was very much like you work for us and that's sort of it, or you don't train, that sort of deal. So it's probably helped your maturation more that you were with Carlo, who says go out and, because I assume that's what Carlo's like, just go out and get as much experience as you can, as many places as you can.
So he always obviously helped in regards to getting in contact with other promotions. He was very good like that. But pretty much is obviously you want to get as much experience as possible in wrestling other companies and obviously wrestling other professional wrestlers. That's the goal. Obviously, you don't want to just wrestle the same people over and over, because I feel like you can learn obviously, but like it's a learning experience when you're wrestling like a person you've never wrestled before, because you might learn something from that person that you won't learn from the other, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And it's also like you're getting experience in front of different crowds. I know people say like a lot of the same crowds go, but that some places can be very different with like how crowds react to certain things in different places.
100%. So I was wrestling for Warzone, Battle Championship Wrestling, bit of Melbourne City Wrestling. There was a promotion called Underworld, and they all pretty much had different crowds. So you'd have to obviously adapt. Is that the word I'm looking for? I don't
Yeah.
know. But like to what you have to cater to, if that makes sense. So, yeah, that's
Yeah, and then
pretty much.
and then when you moved back to Perth, you decided to go to EPW Academy.
Yep.
Was that like a was that a conscious choice, or was it something was just an easy reach out to say Davis or someone to say I want to come over and I want to come home and I want to train with you guys?
So I've done when Davis came over to MCW. I did a few seminars, and obviously I stayed contact with him, saying, "Hey, I'm coming back to Perth. I'm interested, obviously, in training with Explosive Pro Wrestling." And then he goes, "Yeah, just come on down." Obviously, and then came on down, and then pretty much here we are. So yeah, I came back in October. So I was there. Yeah. So I think they only started having shows in December, January, that period, because obviously I think there's still a bit of a lockdown and restrictions, everything type of that. So yeah, it's good. It's good to be back.
And you wrestled sort of the majority of your time in Melbourne as a face, and now sort of in Perth you're working heel. How much of a difference is that to you? Because I noticed, like, do you feel more natural in this role, or do you enjoy the baby facing more? Which, because I know that some people can be different. Some people are just like, I just don't like people hating me. And then other people are like, I love stirring people up. So it's sort of like for me, I love being a heel. I love stirring people up. I'm a shit stirrer, like, naturally. So just doing that is sort of for me.
Yeah. Well, see, this is the first time I've actually been heel properly. So I'm a very, like, as a person, I'm a bit of a shit stirrer. So like I like to actually like I like to grind people. I wouldn't say grind people's gears, but like, like get a reaction. I've always been that type of person, just to see what I like getting reactions in, like, just a bit of a shove type of thing. See how they react. But so for me as a heel, love it. I'm like, because I'm just, he will say they like turn it up to notch 10. I'm just kind of being myself, but actually had a bit arrogant about it, but that's about it. So so if like I said, some wrestlers, like, a lot of wrestlers know who like me, and they're like, "You're really annoying." I'm like, okay, fair enough. So I just cop it, but I'm like, but like, they're like, "You could be a good heel." I'm like, "Oh yeah, no," because like I said, I've been a good guy most of my time, and like I said, I enjoyed that as well, because I think I learned a lot. I learned a lot from other, like, heels and like veterans from being a face. Mm-hmm. So I've learned, like I said, it helped me become the wrestler I'm today, if that makes sense. I'm really I'm just happy, man. Like, I'm happy everything's back.
Yeah, it's the one thing I've always said. Like, I hate when like not so much schools, but promotions want to debut a rookie as a heel, because I'm like, that's not, for me, that's the way I've always been taught and the way I've always understood it. That's not how, like, you learn. You're supposed to learn as a babyface. The heel is supposed to teach. Behind the curtain here, the heel is supposed to teach the babyface. The heel traditionally leads a match, and if you're a babyface, it's hard to lead a match when you're like constantly having to tell the guy to do something while you're trying to sell as well. So I think you always should, like, do your apprenticeship, and that's the way I like to think of it. Do your apprenticeship as a babyface, because then when you eventually go to a heel, you're like, well, I know all of this stuff because I learned from this guy who worked with me, who I've had matches with, and I've learned all of this sort of things.
No, 100%. I totally agree. Like, that's the reason why I did it, because obviously I read I learned from, there's tons of information out there, and you just learn, and you speak to people before I actually debuted, and that was like the number one thing I wanted to do, because obviously you learn so much, and you also it helps you become a better wrestler. I feel that's just, but it really depends on just how you learn as well. I think people people enjoy getting thrown in the deep end, and some people don't, and they like to learn like gradually. So it really just depends on how you learn, because everyone's different.
Yeah. So when you went to Perth, did you pitch the idea of being a heel, or were they just like, oh, we want you to try this, or?
So I've always wanted to do what I'm doing now. I've been like playing around with it for the last year and a half, since obviously being in lockdown. And like trying to add some, content out there when everyone's been in lockdown, for people like to understand what I'm trying to go for. So I did pitch it, and then they're like, "Oh, we're actually thinking we want to be like, want you to do that anyways." I was like, "Perfect." So I'm like, "Great." So that works perfect for me. They're like, so yeah, so that's pretty much. I'm just yeah, flabbergasted. I don't know what to say now, but yeah, that's pretty much what happened. So yeah.
And they've like you're sort of with a manager, but he's also a wrestler sort of group at the moment.
Yes.
Is that
Yes.
yeah? How do you find
Chris,
how do you find working with a manager?
Good. Yeah. I've
Yeah.
never done it before. I think this is the first time me doing this as well. So I'm learning a lot, obviously, from himself, because he's been wrestling for quite some time as well. So always like to see. I always like to, before I go out there, I always like to double check with a few things and think what he thinks would work, and what he thinks won't work, and also just because I'm not sure if you've seen him. He does a very great job what he does, to be honest. Like he's I think we go off well, like off each other pretty well as well, because we're both very annoying characters. So so it just meshes well, especially with the thing I'm trying to go for, and obviously the thing he's trying to go for as well. So just yeah.
Yeah, because I know when I start working with people that have never had like a manager before, they'll come up to me for their match and go, "I've got this spot, this spot, this spot, this spot, this spot for you." I'm like, I don't need all of that. Don't put me in too much. Like, this is your match. I know that I'm managing you, but I'll find spots to do things. You just do you, and we'll work in. Like, I've always found that it's sort of like I shouldn't do anything unless it means something. Because if I'm just 100%. If I'm constantly up there and it just the crowd gets sick of it. Yeah, it puts the heat on me and makes the referee look like an idiot, because I would have kicked me out by now.
100%. Yeah, you don't want to do that, because obviously ruin the point of the match pretty much. So you want the people to be angry at the person you want them to be angry at.
Yeah. Well, the one good thing about EPW is that you've got, with all the veterans that are there, you've got such a wide array of like style, skill, and like talents. It's sort of like you can learn as much technical stuff from like a Gavin, or there's the promo work of like Davis and all of this sort of stuff. Have you found that you've had to sort of really hone a promo style now that you've turned heel? Because the babyface promo is pretty much, it's not that hard when you think about it, because it's just like, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to, whereas the heel promo, to get some genuine heat, sometimes you really have to work at it. Is it who in EPW is the guy that sort of leads that, where he's teaching the promo, or helping with the promos at least?
I think it'd be a range of guys, or I think, because they're all very great at, I think, cutting promos. But I think the people I'd probably go to, I haven't really gone to them as of yet. Obviously, I'm still I'm still quite new there, and obviously I train there about 2 to 3 times a week. So like obviously I'm not too sure who the best person to speak to in regards to that. Like I said, I'm quite new to obviously the trainers and everything like that. So I don't like to push the boundaries on that. So, but like I assume I know obviously Davis is a great promo person, as well as obviously Marcus Pitt and Gavin McGammon. But then Damian Slater as well. Like I don't like there's such a big range, and I feel like they all have their different aspects of like promo styles, if that makes sense. So yeah, I can't really pinpoint a person who I'd go to, because there's so much options, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I don't know the answer to that, to be honest. Sorry.
See, that's the thing too with like you were mentioning Damian Slater before, like because I'm from Adelaide, and I always saw Damian Slater as the whitest meat baby face you could possibly get. There's no way he could ever turn heel, and it could never work. And then I see he's working EPW. I'm like, well, completely wrong there.
People would love to hate him, I guess, isn't it? It's just like he's a specimen, man. He's a very talented dude, isn't he? But yeah.
So what I know that it's hard to really have goals at the moment, but sort of like, is there a spot in APW that you really sort of want? Like, is it like the what's the is it the heritage title? No, it's the heritage title. It's the
Coastal Championship.
The Coastal Championship. Is it sort of that, or is it the main title, or do you want to try tags, or what's the main thing you're sort of aiming for?
My main goal is probably to main event. Obviously, Reach for the Stars, the biggest show of the year. So the Reawakening. That's the main goal for me in any promotion, is the main event. I'm happy with obviously wrestling like other like on the card, but obviously I feel like if for any wrestler, that should be your main goal, is to be the champion, and obviously the main event. Like that, for me, that's always just going to be my main goal. But like I said, I'm happy to. There's always the smaller steps, but like that's my main goal. That always will be main goal for any wrestling promotion.
Mm-hmm. Is it like there's someone that you I know you've already worked Storm, you've already worked Gavin. You're working Gavin. Is there like a top guy that you cannot wait to have a chance? Is it like Mikey, someone that you really want the ultimate goal sort of thing to work with? Or because I know when I first started training, it was just like I wanted to have a match against like Cree or Matt Basso. They were the guys that I saw that I would just love to get in with. I was lucky enough to manage Cree, so I sort of half got there. But it's sort of like, is there like a guy in APW where you're just like, this is someone that I just want to be. I want to be known as good enough to work with.
Yep. Definitely Davis Storm again. I feel like I could have been a lot better. That was my first match in nearly a year, so obviously it wasn't my best. It wasn't my potential, to be completely honest with yourself. So definitely Davis Storm. Obviously, Mikey Nichols. To be honest, there's so many. Like I can't just name like one or two, because like obviously it's like there's a lot of
sort of hard, isn't it?
AEW, and like it's even like when you look like MCW, PWA, like there's so much talent out in Australia, and like it's pretty tough not just to pick one or two, because everyone has a different style, and I feel like you can learn from any of them. Like I don't. It's a tough question.
Yeah, it's also like every time I talk to Davis, I keep sort of going, when are you guys going to do some live streaming? Like when are we going to be able to actually see this thing live instead of? It's great that they're up on Vimeo and all of that, but I want to be able to watch them. Do you know what I mean? Is that's something that you've got to be sort of chasing at the moment, especially when you see like PWA's doing that sort of deal, and even like PCW in Melbourne are doing them now too. every now and then. That's got to be something that you guys, just as a whole in EPW, have got to be aiming for. Or is it like a time delay thing where it would make it? I don't know.
True, because we are 2 hours backwards and soon to be 3. That could be a big thing as well. Obviously, if our shows start at 7:30, it'd be starting like 10:30 over in Melbourne, Sydney, Queensland. I think I'm not too sure if you guys have daylight savings, but
it changes.
I guess at the moment, yeah. But I think I don't really have any say in that.
No, I know.
I
more like a wish thing.
I did, but yeah. But yeah, that is obviously I hope that's a goal for obviously EPW. That'd be sweet. Obviously have a live stream. Well, obviously I feel like there'd be a lot of people hopefully over in whole Australia, even the world, that'd love to obviously watch EPW live. I mean, it's like we do, I think, top notch wrestling. Like I don't see why it shouldn't be. People wouldn't like this. It's streamed live, so hopefully that's something that'll come in the future. But like I said, I don't really know what happens behind the scenes, to be completely honest.
It's one of those things that like it annoys me mainly because I've come from like Riot City Wrestling, where like guys like EPW and RCW don't get the credit for being as good a promotions as they are because they're not in that East Coast, sort of like they're not a Melbourne, they're not a Sydney, and everyone seems to talk about the promotions out of there, but they don't realize just how very good EPW is and also like Riot City is. When you got to EPW, you probably knew because you're a Perth boy, but it's sort of like when you got there, did you sort of look around and go, wow, everyone is really fucking good? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's just the thing, keeping my spot, man. Like that's also the big goal, keeping always try to get a spot in the shows. That's the goal as well, isn't it? Trying to stay relevant as well, especially for wrestling. It's there's always fans always just like they find their new love as a wrestler. So like yeah, it's tough. It's a tough word out there. So dog eat dog world, isn't it?
But if anything, at least it something like that when you've got, it's like iron sharpens iron. If you've got so many people like pushing, like PWA, you got so many 100%. People pushing to get better, then you're going to push yourself. You're not going to rest on your laurels. Like, well, I've hit this spot now. I'm just going to coast. You've got to be constantly like trying to work on your game, different facets of it. And it's just 100%. for you probably, it helps that you've got like a group together where it's sort of you're working towards you have storyline options and all of that sort of thing, but you've also got that person with you that you can keep bouncing ideas off before going to say a management and saying, well, I had this idea, what do you think? That's really sort of got to help you, hasn't it?
Yeah, that was the thing I did struggle obviously in Melbourne, was obviously having the ideas. I was quite basic. I didn't really think I wasn't very creative, I'm not gonna lie. But I feel like since moving here in Perth, I've tried to actually have some ideas in regards to putting forward for myself. Because I feel like I'm like I said, I'm pushing for my spot. Like I'm working for it. You know, you gotta work hard, and that's the goal, just to keep your spot. Like there's so many, like I said, there's so many wrestlers in EPW, and they're all trying to get your spot. That's the thing. You have to just keep on grinding, and hopefully people see that as well. So
well, that's the one thing is too, when I remember when I used to book, when people would come up to me with ideas, if it wasn't an idea like I'm going to do this, and then I win the belt, then it's sort of like, yeah. But if you go, I've got this storyline idea, and it's this, it's all its little self-contained thing. I'm like, I'm more likely to listen to that than I want to do this, and then I get the belt. But if you go, I've got this idea, I want to work with blah blah, this is how we start and this is where it ends, I'm more likely to go, let's have a look at it. Is that sort of is EPW sort of an open like that? Like if you have ideas, you can go up to them and say, I have this idea, I'd like to try and like pitch to you.
Yeah, I'm sure that I haven't like come to that point yet. But I'm sure if the literally, I'm sure that there's whoever has an idea, the people behind the scenes would actually they listen to it. They're not going to be like shutting it down straight away. Obviously, there's always open ears. But I I'm just I listen. I do not what I told, but like you like I obviously I put forward I believe I think that would work, and then obviously we have a conversation, and then goes from there pretty much. So, but I'm not really a person who's like, well, I do this, I win this, you lose this, win this. I'm like, oh, I don't want to. I just like I don't know, it just makes you look. I don't know. I was want to PG this up, so I'm just like, it makes you just not. You don't want to put yourself over too much. Like I feel like, yeah, I don't know. I'm not that type of person.
Yeah. No. Give it a while. Talk to him in a year and he's like,
Yeah.
I'm doing this and I'm going here.
Exactly.
I want every belt. Mate, it's been great chatting to you. For people that want to follow everything you're doing, and you've got this weekend, you've got Southern, what's it called? Sorry,
Territory Wrestling. Yep.
Southern Territory Wrestling.
Yep, that's it.
With my mate Dean, and then you've got then you've got encounters with you're in the tournament for that one.
Encounters, yes, invitational tournament against Gavin McGavin. Easy, I'm gonna need that beat that prick easy, but I will see what happens on the October 16th.
For everyone who wants to follow on socials, mate, how can they do that?
Yeah, so pretty much on all the socials like Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, Slickback Kaz. So SLICK BACKKAZ. Bang.
You're so proud of yourself.
Yep.
Mate, it's been great chatting to you. Thank you so much for coming on.
No, all anytime, mate. I was sick. I'm happy to be on, brother.
October 16th. The road to Reawakening 20 begins. As EPW presents Mighty Encounters. Gate 1 Theatre, Claremont Showgrounds. The last stop before Reawakening 20. The Godfather versus the Gunslinger. Plus, all your favorite EPW superstars. EPW Mighty Encounters, October 16th, Gate 1 Theatre, Claremont Showgrounds. Don't you miss it. Big thanks to Kaz Jordan for coming on the show. Thank you so much, mate. Get around him, follow him on his socials, get to know what he's doing because he's got a big future in professional wrestling in Australia. But guys, make sure you subscribe to WRA. It's free. You can do it on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts from, we're there. If you are on Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star rating and review. Helps us get inside more ears on the old algorithms there, so more people will see and share the show and hopefully learn a bit more about professional wrestling in Australia. If you want to support the local industry, please do so, especially in these times. Wrestlermerch.com for all t-shirts and all that sort of stuff from you guys around the country. A lot of guys all around the country now have their shirts up on that site, so please do go and support them. I am not they are not sponsoring the show at all. This is just a thing to please help these guys at the moment, all the workers around the country, especially in Victoria and New South Wales, because there's no shows going on at all at the moment. make sure you like us on Facebook, Wrestle Radio Australia, and also on Twitter and Instagram at Wrestle Radio AU. And I am personally at Beast Eastman on Twitter. All the WRA stuff is on Redbubble. Just search Wrestle Radio Australia or WRA on Redbubble. We should pop up there. And when you do, if you buy anything with Wrestle Radio Australia on it, hoodies, t-shirts, etc., all the proceeds for that go to Gotcha for Life and Beyond Blue, which are two charities that we really do support here at Wrestle Radio Australia. They have a lot to do with men's health and mental health and all that sort of stuff, which is something we are really big on here. So that will be it for this week on Wrestle Radio Australia. Hopefully we'll have another interview this week. I'll be back on Sunday with the host of Making Chicken Salad, Lachlan Albert. We'll be talking all about the Extreme Rules and then the stuff that's happened this week with AEW and all of that sort of gear. And we also got a That's Debatable again this weekend. So until then, I'm Todd Eastman. It's my opinion. You're entitled to it. We'll see you next week right here on Wrestle Radio Australia.
Too sweet, yeah. Too sweet, put your fangs up. Too sweet, pour another cup. Let's be busy 23.